chemicals and such. And, within range, we tried to do that. But this is where I'm going. Some restaurants we went into knew we were coming for service, but there was no prepping done. They had stuff all over the place. When I'd walk into an establishment ready to treat or service that place, it was more than having my flashlight and doing the SOS, searching out the source, finding out where, the contamination was, or the infestation was, not contamination, but infestation was. It was more than that. When I went into a place, it was my intent to do the job well. And when I left, to feel satisfied that I did everything that I could do for that service at a given time. But because it wasn't prepared, I'm talking about being watched, because it wasn't prepared while servicing, I know it's a different time that they call it now. I don't know now. I've been out for years. Integrated management, pest control system now. They use jails. They use hotels or motels, depending on what the whatever the pest is. Back then, we were putting chemical all over the place. How about that? We go in with our the BGs, the sprayer, pump it up, and just start spraying. Sometimes it was a stream for crack and crevice, and other times it was a spray. But because a place wasn't prepped, they'd have tools here and plates there and silverware here and out in the open, and you're servicing. And as I'm going along servicing, trying to get out, I just wanted my ticket sign. As I'm spraying, I would see the stuff get on the different items. And because of my makeup, because I know I'm being watched, not by the ring, because the ring wasn't popular or wasn't even in existence back then. And it's not because I had someone following me around while I was servicing. It was myself. And in spraying, when stuff got on the items, I'd look around to see if anybody was there, not because I made that error or mistake, keeping in mind it shouldn't have been there in the first place, but because of my makeup, now I'm looking for a sink, I'm looking for soap, so I can wash those items out before I left. I needed to feel without guilt something being cross-contaminated. Nobody told me to do that. Can you imagine other workers going out to your establishment without that mindset and what they could have possibly done? And maybe I don't blame, the staff for not prepping, because they were probably at work all day long. They were probably running on a skeleton crew. The owners of the business, they're at home living it up. Oh yeah. They're not thinking about that. They just know that for health and safety reasons, they have to have an account, a relationship with pest control management. But because I knew I was being watched by the Most High, I took the time to clean up my steps. Again, we're being watched at all times. It's not just a song. Think about it. I think, and I suggest and recommend in all of our movements going forward from, what time that clock got? 1:24 on the 6th of July. From this day forward, because you hear it coming out of my mouth, we ought to move and operate knowing we're being watched. Am I saying we move with fear? No. But know that we're being watched by one that is higher than ourselves. I don't care if the ring bell is there or not. I don't care if a supervisor is there or not. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to digress again about the pest control, because during that period of time, even now, because for me, the Lord God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And my love for him and my faith in him then even more so was so strong. I mean, I was tagging, back in the day, you don't know, but back in the day when we were treating for rodents, rats and mice, they had these little stations, little houses around the perimeter of an establishment. And we would go around and check them and make sure they still had the proper poison or the wax stick of poison. And then we had to label those boxes. I would take the time to label them, but I wouldn't put my name. I put OOOTYL. because of the praise on the inside. This might not make sense to some, but I was saying, oh, thank you, Lord, for this job, for this time, for this season, for this place. Wherever I went, I felt like I wasn't alone. Again, and digressing, I'm getting back to this soon. I found myself in pest control. I work for, like I said, different companies. But during one of the times, I was responsible for different schools. Here, right now, I'm in Missouri. So there were a lot of elementary schools I used to do in pest control. A lot of them. I got to see some things I probably should have saw. In Chicago, it was more commercial buildings and restaurants and things of that nature. But then when I got here, I started doing hotels. Holes in the wall, some of them. I'm reminded now of they had a certain scent about them. And the scent had nothing to do with sleep. But then one day it dawned on me, because another thing I used to do as being not just a worker for the company I work for and not just a servant for who I serve, but another thing I used to do when I go into places, especially I didn't know, I'd look around to see if anybody was watching. I'd bow to one knee. Lord, I've never been here before. Give me what to do, how to do, the way to do this job, because I wanted to do it well. So on this particular day in the hotel, I was going through the drawers of this place, and I noticed in pulling out the drawers, and I was starting to notice it consistently as I go to the hotels or motels, there was a Bible. Crisp, looked like it was never touched or never opened. And more times than not, more than 98% of the time, it said Gideon, brought to you by the Gideon something, something, something. And I looked at it one day and I said, it looks like they never opened this Bible. Who knows who's going to come in this room? Who knows what that person's going to be going through at a given time? Who knows? And it came to me one day I'd go into the rooms after I treat them. I look for the Bible and I would just open it up. I say, God, let it fall to a place that just may well be insightful for the guest of this room. And there were many hotels that I did that in. And to this day, I don't know if anybody was affected, but I felt like that was a part of something I could do as an offering. Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have. There were many hotels. I remember the O'Hare Hilton back in the day. That was an 800-room hotel. I didn't do 800 rooms a visit, but they would block off, I think, 2 floors at a time. But any place I found the Bible that I was responsible for the service of that night, I would open it. Now again, I'm just digressing. Now let me get back to the story at hand. I talked about that trailer back in the dream I had where I was gathering up the pieces and parts that this particular man came to my seat. I had the impression that he didn't want to be bothered with it. But as I looked at the items, I was like, these are of value. It's something about it. And I laid it down. And one of the points I brought up then was, I said the word remnant. God has a remnant of people around the world. Where you are, where you work, where you serve, you are viable. You carry weight, even if they don't acknowledge you, walk around you. But how about this? I want to give y'all a thought to play with. Just think. I don't care who you are, where you're from, your walk, because I talked to the readers, the light workers and such, just last week. It doesn't matter who you are. If you have a job, wherever you serve, I don't care if you're just contributing your time. If on a given day God said, I want them all, just take them off. What would the world be like without the light workers? What would the world be like without his people ready, at arms, on the front line, ready to serve, ready to thwart that away or thwart that away. Because the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. You're viable where you are. You don't have to be loud and obnoxious. No. You don't have to wear the biggest cross where you are or the most beads on your arm. You don't have to do that. You don't have, no! Just know in whom you believe. And your the backing. I'm remember, was it Dothan in the Bible where it talks about when the servant of one of the prophets came out of his tent and he looked around and he saw the host around them, the enemy. And he went back to the prophet. He said, "Prophet, look, we're surrounded." And then the prophet, he didn't get all up in arms or excited. He just, he said, "God, open his eyes that he might see." And when that servant's eyes was open, he noticed a multitude of horses and chariots of fire encamping around the enemy, ready to do battle. Don't you know that you have a host following you wherever you are? Huh? You're not alone. You're not by yourself. You're God's chosen. You're his treasure. And I thank God. I thank God. I thank God. I got here, you are necessary, viable, the quiet but powerful minority in most places. Wherever we work or however we contribute, we hold value. I also wrote down, I'm almost finished, the clarion call is being made to the ends of the earth. Let us be found of him. We shouldn't be running and hiding because we're afraid of what somebody's going to say because we're different. I got another sidebar here. You know, you go through, these different platforms and you listen to people talk about how chosen they are. I'm chosen. I'm one of God. I get it. I understand. But I also get this. Can I just be myself? I don't know if I'd be kick up in the air, feet happy about being chosen like them because of this. Being chosen comes with a price. Huh? Yeah, there's some perks. There's some perks. But there are going to come some times when you're going to have to ground when you don't want to ground. There are going to come some times when you're going to have to bow the knee when you don't want to bow the knee. There are going to come some times when you're going to have to push the plate aside when you don't want to push the plate aside. There's going to come a time when you can't fellowship with everybody, although you want to be around them. Chosen, I'm talking about. You still kick up in the air, feet happy about being chosen? But I want you to know, being chosen, being called of God, being his special treasure, being a vessel of his grace and mercy. He has mercy in place for all of those who have been called from the beginning, no matter what part of the globe you are in. The farthest east, the farthest west, the farthest north, the farthest, it doesn't matter. But you're special to him. Just know that in your movement.